The former governor of Alaska insists she knows exactly who is responsible for the steep rise in gasoline prices. Sarah Palin told me during an earlier interview she blames President Obama.
I certainly do. The gas prices have increased 67% since Obama took over. And instead of doing everything in his power to decrease those prices by allowing more domestic supply of oil, which would translate into obviously more supply of gasoline too, he instead is heading the other direction. He's over there asking the Saudis and other Arab nations to ramp up production so that we can purchase from them. That makes absolutely no sense, because there goes our jobs, our opportunities, our money into foreign lands. We could be having that circulated here, and that would boost our economy.
What about ending oil subsidies, subsidies for oil companies? Where do you stand on that?
Here's where we need to go there nationally, because this is what I did as governor of Alaska, which obviously is an energy producing state. You need to crack down on big oil, making sure that they're not writing off through tax loopholes. As for the government subsidies that we're hearing Obama flirting with right now and wanting to decrease those or eliminate those, we're only talking about $4 billion. Compare that to the $14 trillion debt that our president has certainly contributed to, and $4 billion is a drop in the bucket, and he shouldn't assume that the $4 billion is going to affect big oil. No, it's the independent explorers that we want out there with their entrepreneurial spirit and their manpower and their job creating ability to be out there exploring and then responsibly exploiting and extracting our God-given natural resources.
Right, but do you concede that it is a powerful political point if ExxonMobil on Thursday reports 69% increase in its first quarter earnings, and earnings jumping to $10.65 billion, obviously tied to the high price of oil? But if on top of that they're getting subsidies, you agree it's a powerful political point that may be scoring points with the American voters.
You have no idea how large an entity these big oil companies really are when it comes to lobbying for what's best for their bottom line. And they're capitalists. You know, they're doing what their shareholders, their stakeholders are demanding of them. These CEOs of big oil companies, they're saying, look out for our bottom line and take as much as you can and leave as little behind. That's their job, if you will.
So you would end the subsidies to big oil?
I would have to look at exactly what it is that Obama's talking about. Again, you have to remember that President Obama, and I'm going to say this with all due respect to the office of the presidency, he doesn't know what he's doing when it comes to energy. He does not know, as I just pointed out, that the $4 billion that he thinks he's going to stick it to Exxon, BP, ConocoPhillips, that no, it's going to be the independent producers, the explorers that we want out there creating jobs that are going to be hit with an end of subsidy. So we have to really take a hard look at that.
Last thing on this, House Budget Committee Chairman Paul Ryan at a town hall Thursday called for ending oil subsidies as a part of a bigger plan. So obviously there's some split in the Republican Party about this issue.
You know, I don't think that there's as big a split as maybe some want to make it out to be. We have to make sure that there isn't the crony capitalism and corporatism. We have to make sure that there aren't the loopholes in there that only the big companies that can afford the attorneys and the lawyers to get themselves through those loopholes, that they exist. We have to make sure that those loopholes are closed. I'm all for that.
So on the debt ceiling vote that is coming up in coming weeks, if you were in Congress, would you vote against increasing the debt ceiling?
Hells no. I would not vote to increase that debt ceiling. Otherwise, it just shows the American public we're not serious yet. We're still going to incur more debt. No, and we don't have to increase the debt ceiling here in the next few weeks. It turns my stomach to hear this assumption articulated that, well, we have to, despite the fact we're raking in, the federal government, $6 billion a day. Take that money and service our debt first and pay down some of that debt. Make sure that we're showing the international financial markets and our lenders that we're serious about getting our debt and our deficit problems under control.
So what would you say to the Republicans who do vote for it, on the advice of experts on Wall Street and around the country, who believe that not increasing it would really hurt the economy and create a disaster?
I would say, before you think about seriously voting to increase the debt limit and incur more unsustainable, immoral, unethical debt that is really going to ruin our country to continue down this path. Prioritize, service the debt first, pay for the very essential services that are constitutionally mandated. Let the states take care of a whole lot of these services and projects, and if a state wants to do something a little bit special, like some extra roads or extra museums and monuments and cowboy poetry, let that state figure out how they're going to pay for it.
Okay, Governor Palin, where are you on a prospective presidential run?
Haven't decided yet, and while I'm making up my mind still, Brett, I'm going to continue getting that message out there that smaller, smarter government is the only thing that's going to save this country's economy.
Okay, so since you haven't decided, and since Fox is paying you to be an analyst, how about analyzing some of the other prospective candidates? Mitt Romney.
I appreciate that Mitt Romney is one who seems to be ready to jump in there full-fledged as a candidate. I respect him and everybody else, and the more the merrier in a GOP primary. I do not want to hear these elites try to discourage through a primary process that hasn't even started yet the idea that, no, there's only a few chosen ones who will be deemed appropriate to run for office. That's what a primary is for: debates, discussion, competition. That's what breeds success, competition. Let the people decide. Elites, man, just, yeah, give your opinion, but don't discourage people from running for office.
What do you make of Donald Trump?
He's one I'll put in that category of appreciating his willingness to jump in there. Call it like he sees it. Don't care what the media says about you. He, of course, is going to, as he continues down the road, feel the sting of the scrutiny that especially the lamestream media will just have all over him, bless his heart. But, you know, he's going to throw out some good ideas, I'm sure, and some ideas that we'll want to debate.
Michelle Bachmann.
She too, you know, she's got her 2.5 terms of service there in the House of Representatives that I can respect, because she's had to go up against the elites, if you will, in the party and buck some tide. I look more for in a candidate independence. I don't want to see them so beholden to a political party that they let this obsessive partisanship get in the way of doing what's right. I respect her independence.
Okay, so the common theme is that you respect the people who are getting in or talking about getting into the race, and you want the process to work itself out. But when I talked to you last year about your prospective candidacy, you said you were going to see who got in the race or was talking about it, and if someone you believe that you could support got in, you probably would not. But if you didn't see someone, you would get in. So we're getting to the point of, do you see somebody?
We're not to that point yet, Brett. And remember that this race, the general election, of course, 19 months away still. I still do think that a lot of this is much too early. The speculation, the positioning of potential candidates already is too early. That brings me to something even more important, though, and that's what the President of the United States is doing to us, essentially, when you consider that that general election isn't until 19 months from now, and he's already in campaign mode, and he's already trying to raise $1 billion he's going to raise and spend in order to try to hold on to his seat.
Well, that's the point, Governor. That's the point. If the president's out there raising money and he says he's going to raise $1 billion, and the Republicans have to come to the table with a lot of money, that's going to take time to raise that money. It doesn't just come out of the air, right?
Nope. The point is our president should be buckling down and trying to find solutions to the challenges facing this country.
It doesn't matter how much he raises.
You know, I do not want to believe that the American political process is going to come down to who has the most money. If that's the case, count me out. You know, count out anybody who's come from middle class, not having those strings tied to big, maybe corporate entities and the lobbying firms and all that influence, and in Obama's case last go around, potentially some foreign money or monies that we never did see being accounted for. Somebody like me, I would never be able to compete in an environment like that if truly the American people were going to concede that that's all it's about is money. I'm not going to believe that.
Before I let you go, are you suggesting that the FEC may find that foreign money got into the Obama campaign in 2008?
Am I wrong to bring up the fact, and maybe, Brett, at this point you have more information than I do on where a lot of those dollars were that were unaccounted for? Remember, we saw much proof of a lot of the contributions to Obama's campaign, credit card contributions under fake names and addresses that perhaps weren't even real addresses in the U.S. I certainly hope that we won't just give up on making sure that we have free and fair elections, not just Obama's, heck, some on the GOP too, on the GOP side. Let's make sure that rules are being followed. We are a land of laws.
Governor Palin, as always, thank you very much. And if you do have an announcement, please let us know.
Thank you so much, Brett.